start.
On your mark.
Get set.
Get set.
Now ready.
Ready, go.
Provocative, engaging, and usually quite a lady.
Okay, they're asking for it.
Deborah, go.
Wow, I don't know if I'm impressed or perplexed. I'm talking about Vice President Kamala Harris's Economic Opportunity Tour. You see, last week, everybody was up in arms about Vice President, or former President rather, Barack Obama coming down from on high to scold black men for not supporting Kamala Harris. Well, to be more precise, now they say it's about 20% of black men who say they will not be supporting Kamala Harris. So that required Barack Obama to come down and say, look, brothers, you better get yourself together. And we went through that during the last podcast. So then the question became, so how will Kamala Harris draw black men, or that 20% who've decided to leave the plantation, how will she get them back onto the plantation? So she got in the room with her advisors, and they thought and they thought and they thought, and they said, we've got it. And they did come up with a plan. So what I thought I'd do is to mosey on over to her website, which, by the way, it does finally have information there, because, you know, from the moment she was selected to run as president and they set up a campaign website, there was nothing on the website, nothing except, we must get rid of Donald Trump, please donate. That was all that was on there. Now they do have some of her plans and some of her proposed policies. So I went over to the website to find out more about the Economic Opportunity Tour. So I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but I thought, in fairness, in case you yourself have not read it, I took a little bit of what's on the site, and I'm going to share that with you so we can all be on the same page. And I'm reading it verbatim, and it says, drawing on insights from her experience throughout her career and her Economic Opportunity Tour, today, Vice President Harris is laying out an opportunity agenda for black men to provide them with the tools to achieve financial freedom, lower costs to better provide for themselves and their families, and protect their rights. This path-breaking agenda includes providing 1 million loans that are fully forgivable to black entrepreneurs and others to start a business. Number 2, championing education, training, and mentorship programs that help black men get good-paying jobs in high-demand industries and lead their careers, including pathways to become teachers. Number 3, launching a national health initiative focusing on black men that focuses on sickle cell, diabetes, etc. They had like 4 or 5 diseases there that disproportionately affect them. And then legalizing recreational marijuana and creating opportunities for black Americans to succeed in this industry. So, of course, everybody jumped right on the marijuana portion, like, oh boy, here we go. Black men, let's get them some weed, let's get them something to smoke, and they'll be okay. And then drop $20,000 in their pockets, and all is well. Well, I figured now, I know she can be a little ditzy. But I figured she had to be a little smarter than that. It had to be more than just marijuana and $20,000. So there really was more. So just taking a closer look at it, so providing these loans that are, quote, fully forgivable to black entrepreneurs and others, because they had to put the and others there because she got a lot of pushback when she first announced that this is for black men only. And then all of the lawyers and constitutionalists and just everyday people just said, that's not right, that's not fair. And come to find out, constitutionally, she couldn't just single out blacks and say, okay, this one's for you. So they added and others. So I started thinking about that. fully forgivable loans for your business. Fully forgivable loans for your business. Where have I heard that before? It seems like I've heard that before. You know what? I did. I heard of that before. It was called the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP. That was a fully forgivable loan that was for small businesses. And they could use that money to help keep their employees on the payroll during COVID. There was a whopping $793 billion that was given out. And guess what they found? Well, everybody's talking about it now. A huge chunk of that money was for fraudulent purposes. Now, please don't get it confused. There were lots of small businesses that truly did benefit from the Paycheck Protection Program. But guess who else got involved in it? There were lots of very, very wealthy people who dipped their hands in the pot to get some of that PPP money. People like one of the Kardashians, and they're billionaires. Tom Brady, who I love. I love my Tom Brady. But Tom Brady, he got a Paycheck Protection Program loan, a PPP loan. But also, there were tens of thousands of people who just submitted an application, wrote down the name of a business, made up a number for the number of people that they employ, and they got a check. And that's why during one little period over the last 3-4 years, you saw all of these Chargers on the road and all these cars racing up and down the road, and people were shopping and online mostly because, they had to close the stores. But those were fully forgivable loans. So I'm wondering, will there be some sort of structure to ensure that people who honestly are small business owners or people, because it says on her website, or those who want to start a business? And even that in and of itself, I find a problem with, because anybody can want to start a business. So you give them $20,000 of taxpayer money and say, there, go start it. It seems to me it would be a lot more useful if there was some business education. I don't know, something to help people, young people particularly, young men, because this is who it's being targeted to, who want to do something productive, not just grab $20,000 and, get to the car dealership. And that's not to put down the young men that will receive the money, but it's about really being responsible in terms of giving away taxpayer dollars. Because my suspicion is she could care less what they do with the money. Oops, I don't want to sound like Kamala with the laugh. She could care less what they do with the money. But it's the sound of it all. I'm going to give you $20,000. That's a lot of money. You can start a business and you can raise your kids in a middle-class neighborhood. Because I was raised in a middle-class neighborhood. And look at me, I'm vice president. So that was number one. Number two, championing education, training, and mentorship programs that help Black men get good-paying jobs in high-demand industries and lead their communities. Okay, noble idea. I'm going to champion education. Go education, go! Go education, go! I'm going to champion training. Hey, training! Yay, training! And mentoring programs. Mentoring! Because I don't see her doing much more than that. If that's what she says on the site, she's going to be championing these things. Okay, so what else? What else are you going to be doing? Well, she says these are going to help Black men get good paying jobs in high demand industries and lead their communities. Okay. So let's see. You left the borders wide open for the last 3.5 years, ushering in a flood of people who will be competing for those jobs. No, Deborah, they can't work. They're not citizens. Come on now, let's get with reality here. The construction industry, and actually several industries now have large numbers of illegals. And we know this because it's not a secret. I even remember reading several years ago in the Chicago Sun-Times, when it was a real newspaper. How the construction industry, they were hiring lots of illegals. They didn't pay them union wages, but hey, if they were making $20 an hour, that's pretty darn good. So you've already created an extraordinarily, ridiculously unnecessary competitive environment for the men you claim you want to help. And I am only assuming here she's really speaking to people who don't have skills, who are not necessarily well educated, because that's what she says she wants to do. Help them to get an education, to get training, to get mentors. So why have you created this environment where they're going to be competing for jobs by people who may say, you know what, I'll work, you just pay me a little less, I'll take the job. So that's kind of screwed up. In fact, it's really screwed up. I'm just looking at this thing and I'm thinking, I don't know if she's really thinking about it. I do want to add, she says that it also includes helping them on a pathway to become teachers. Okay. Well, to me, that would require that you get into schools, that you deal with these unions who have been responsible for the lowering of standards. You've got kids in every major American city, urban cities, where the majority of the students do not meet federal standards for reading or mathematics. Deal with that first, because they're turning out people who can't compete in high-paying, high-demand industries because the schools have failed them. But it sounds good, doesn't it? Oh, boy. And then on the site, part of her plan for the Black man, launching a national health initiative that's focused on Black men to help them with sickle cell anemia, diabetes, and other diseases that disproportionately affect them. Okay. All right. So how exactly will she be doing this? Because I'm thinking that that's going to require a real effort. I mean, more than just saying you're going to champion it, you're going to launch a national health initiative. What will that entail? And maybe she'll provide more details later, so I'm not going to beat her up about that. I want to get to this last one. Legalizing recreational marijuana and creating opportunities for Black Americans to succeed in this industry. Okay, let me go back to the previous point. You want to get them in good-paying jobs in high-demand industries, and you want to give them more opportunities to smoke more marijuana legally. And then she says, create opportunities for Black Americans to succeed in this industry. Again, where have I heard that before? Well, I'll tell you where. I don't know if you realize this, but in every state, and I don't know what it is now, but I know there were at least 11 states that had legalized marijuana. In every single one of those states, they did almost the same exact things. They gathered up Black politicians. They gathered up higher profile Black people to stand with their governors and talk about, we are finally going to break the inequities in law enforcement because Black people are arrested more often than whites for smoking marijuana. And the way we're going to do that, we're going to give Blacks an opportunity to own marijuana dispensaries. This will equalize things. This is a way we can combat the inequities in business and in the field of marijuana growing and selling. We've heard that before. However, we've not seen any of that. And we'll get into that in just a moment. So just looking at the four or 5 major points of her plan. So she wants to give the loans out, the fully forgivable loans. We've seen that before with PPP. Then number 2, she wants to champion education, training, and mentorship programs that help Black men get these good paying jobs. Well, I did just a little bit of digging, and guess what I found? There already exists a program like that in the federal government. It falls under the U.S. Department of Commerce. They have a program. It's called the African American Employment Program, the AAEP. And directly from their website, it says, which develops, plans, and implements strategies that enable the department to recruit, hire, promote, and retain a more diverse and qualified workforce. They are specifically targeting Blacks. Under the Commerce Department. Maybe she's not aware of it. Maybe she doesn't know such a department exists. Such an initiative already exists in the federal government. Okay. Then number 3, that health initiative. I said I'll dig a little further. And guess what I found? There are several Black male health initiatives. And the first one that I came across, which seems to be extremely good, is the Black Male Health Initiative, the BMHI. And that is really, I went over on their website. I thought that was a federal agency. I looked at the people that are charged with the responsibility of educating Black men, treating Black men with health issues. It's a large and diverse staff they have there. I looked at their board of directors. Very impressive. But I went on, I found another organization, the National African American Male Wellness Agency. And then there was another, 100 Black Men of America, Inc. They have a program called Healthcare 2.0. And then there was Target HIV for Black men who are living with HIV and AIDS. So I'm thinking, you're not coming up with anything. I've come up with a program to help Black men to improve their lives. I did that. No, you didn't. But I did want to share something with you just to underscore a point here. It's about this whole marijuana thing. This is what everybody's been talking about. Oh, that's so racist. You're just saying Black men just want to get high and spend money. Actually, I think a lot of men of a lot of people, period, would love to do that. But I have serious doubts as to the veracity of her promise to incorporate more Blacks into the business, the industry of marijuana selling. I'm opposed to it. I don't care if you're Black, white, or whatever. I don't support that. But it is what it is. They exist, they're legal, and people are going to do what they are going to do. But the idea that you would dangle that little carrot out there, if I become president, I'm going to make sure that that industry becomes more equitable. You're going to get your fair share of pot dispensaries, okay? And I thought about that. Where have I heard that before? Well, here's where. It was from Governor J.B. Pritzker. It was around 2018 when he started talking about the need for equity in marijuana and that this is a way to help Blacks, particularly, to get into an industry where lots of money could be made, and how the state, if we could get this thing passed, they would pour more money into disenfranchised communities and blah, 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 blah. Well, here's a report from ABC7 Chicago's Samantha Chapman on how all of that turned out, which, by the way, the legislation making marijuana legal in Illinois happened in 2019.
In 2022, Black people made up only 1% of majority dispensary owners. Hispanic majority owners were also 1%. 88% of dispensaries are white majority owned. The remaining dispensaries are majority owned by people of 2 or more or other races.
Now, the funny thing about that is that if you Google who owns the licenses for dispensaries in Illinois, you'll find that you'll find the results say that blacks hold 27% of the licenses. And I don't doubt that. Yeah, they have the licenses, but they don't have the businesses. And to me, that was part of the con. You're going to get those licenses. We're going to make certain that you receive licenses. And they gave them to them. Problem is, they didn't get to open the businesses. It requires a ton of money and a bunch of other requirements. But as you heard in the report, just 1% of the dispensaries are owned by blacks, which for me personally, I couldn't care less. I am so opposed to the whole marijuana should be legal thing, but that's another story. This same tired promise of we're going to make you a part of this industry. We're going to help you build wealth. Generational wealth is what you're looking for, right? Well, we've got the solution for you. They do this every single time. In every single state where they have legalized it, they've employed the same tactics. Here's one of the state representatives from Illinois in what she had to say when this legislation first passed.
This is about repairing harm that's been done to communities for the last 40 years as a part of the failed war on drugs. And after 40 years of treating entire communities like criminals, here comes this multi-billion-dollar industry. And guess what? Black and brown people have been put at the very center of this policy in a way that no other state in the country has ever done this before.
That was State Representative Jahan Gordon Booth, and I have no idea if she's still in office. I certainly know she wasn't run out of office for that scam that she was a part of, because they never are run out of office. It's like, again, this mystical spell falls on people. And when these Democrats are making all of these wild-eyed promises that they know full well they're lying to people, they know this. People are just like seals, clapping seals. Yay, yay. Well, wait, tell me some more. It is so disgusting. So I'm just watching Kamala Harris talk about this, and it's equally disgusting to me because she knows that she's selling a bill of nothingness. This is pure gimmickry. It's just another gimmick.
Rubbish and poppycock. I don't believe it.
And I just hope and I just pray that that block of men, that block of black men, whose numbers are ranging from 15 to maybe even 20%, I hope they hold steadfast, that they see her for who she is, continue to see her for who she is, because they already see, and not be persuaded by these ridiculous lies or Obama's threats and accusations. And all the media pundits who are talking about they must not understand what Trump is going to do. And just to put a fine point on this pledge, this promise that we're going to get you in the marijuana industry, let me tell you how this game really works. It's just what Governor Pritzker did. You rally up all of the black people that you can get, those who are hoping against hope that they will be one of the ones that gets one of those licenses. And I'm looking at all of the politicians, the video I was watching, and they were all around and glad-handing and clapping and smiling, skinning and grinning, standing there with J.B. Pritzker. It's what they do in other states. You get your useful idiots to help you sell people false hope, to outright lie to them. But this is what else they do. You see, right after they get the bill passed and they already know there's nothing in it for the black supporters. They already know this. So these are not stupid people. I know lots of people call Kamala stupid, including President Trump. And I think that's just Trump being Trump, but she's not stupid. They already know how this is going to work out. So what do? I can tell you what's going to come after if she should win. And this promise, when nobody gets a license, they'll get the license when nobody gets a dispensary, or 1% gets a dispensary. Then they'll set up an office to guard against discrimination in the marijuana dispensary business. That's how this works. You don't believe me? Take a listen.
Erin Johnson oversees marijuana operations for the entire state of Illinois. She says her office is working to level the playing field.
Black and brown communities are over-policed, have been over-policed, and have been disproportionately affected by the war on drugs. And so part of the reason that the social equity program exists is really to make sure that we can right those wrongs.
So part of righting those wrongs is to award social equity cannabis licenses. Because after all, when the state first approved the licensing for marijuana sales, again, blacks were promised, blacks didn't get. So now we're going to set up an office to ensure through social equity that more licenses are given to minorities. Now, the craziest thing about this is, who do you think issued those licenses in the first place? The very people who promised, we're going to do this and we're going to make certain that everybody's a part of this. And they did not do that. And they had no plans of doing that. There are too many people with lots of money that wanted those licenses. So the way they give themselves cover, well, we're going to fight this inequity. We're going to establish an office of social equity specifically for the cannabis industry. So what have they done now? They have 140 social equity cannabis licenses. And of that 140 licenses, they have awarded 8 of those social equity licenses to blacks. See, Deborah, you were wrong. More blacks are getting licenses. Go back to the start of this program, to the start of this podcast. I said they awarded 27 licenses, or 27% of licenses for marijuana to blacks. But in reality, only 1% of the marijuana dispensary businesses is owned by blacks. So it's nothing to give a license, but it's really something if they can get the business. This is not new to Kamala Harris. It's the old game that they always play. She's playing it too. It's part of the gimmickry. It's part of the trickery. Be vague, say a whole lot of nothing. There's no meaning in any of this. And just as a side note, I am so sick and tired of hearing people say they're sending black men to prison for getting caught with marijuana. The way they talk about it, they try to make it sound as though somebody who had a joint, somebody who had a nickel bag, dime bag, I don't even know if they call them that anymore, but if they're caught with the personal amount of marijuana that can be used for their personal use, then they send the black men to prison. No, they do not. You have to have at least a minimum of 30 grams of marijuana in order for that to even qualify for federal sentencing. So once again, on with the okie doke, the lies, the fear mongering. You would think that if someone is carrying enough marijuana where they are a dealer, good riddance. Bye. That's the way I look at it. So no doubt Kamala will continue with her cliched promises. Get high, spend a little money. I'm going to champion anything you do. She'll continue to do that. But just remember, there was a real plan, but that plan was offered by Trump during his first term. It was the Platinum Plan, and the media ignored it. There was a lot of good stuff in that. That's where we got the First Step program from. That's still in existence. Over 3,000 people have gone through that program. People who made a bad decision and wound up going to prison. Not habitual, violent people, not sex offenders and all that stuff, but people who have a real shot of putting their lives back on track. That was Trump's First Step program. It became a bipartisan effort. And we can't forget about the permanent funding for historically black colleges and universities. These are the effective things that really impact people's lives. He didn't get the support that he needed, but guess what? A whole lot of stuff in that Platinum Plan he put into effect. He actually did create more opportunities for black people. and for all Americans, because to be honest with you, I'm one of these people. I truly believe if you make the nation strong, healthy, prosperous, everybody benefits. But if you open borders and let millions upon millions of people in here undocumented, if you drive inflation up where prices are up, it doesn't just hurt Black people, it hurts everybody. Security, he tried with the wall, he got a lot of it built, but they fought him every step of the way. And now they say, well, he didn't finish building the wall. No, he couldn't. He was about prosperity. Yeah. And that's what I want to see. I don't care about these glitzy, shiny trinkets, these gimmicks.
I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed.
You got a joint?